Greetings and welcome back to SmartWatchTicks. If you're watching this video, it's probably because you're interested in the LEMFO LF16 as one choice amongst two possible candidates in a smartwatch. We're really happy about this one when we first had a chance to review it because it was the only one on the market like it. There was nothing that had this shape and form, this character, this one button simplicity, the easily removable cover to put your SIM card in, the quick attach charging dock, and the heart rate monitor, all with a really nice leather strap. Stood out all by itself, available from LEMFO. We still have links in the show notes if you're interested in buying this particular one. However, turns out it doesn't take too long before another watch shows up that is pretty much, let's face it, totally identical. The DOMINO DM368 watch is identical to the LF16. Well, with a couple of exceptions, and that's why you're watching this video. We're going to cover those differences, but look, it's got the same hardware, exactly. Nothing's different there. Speakers in the same place, got the same volume. The watch faces are basically the same, laid out a little bit differently between the two. We can show you that. But what's the major difference? Well, let's dig into the specs. If you look at the Domino one, and you go through all of the information, and you get through it, you see that it's almost identical. Then you check the battery. It's 400 milliamp hour battery on the Domino 368. All right, let's bring over the LEMFO and look at its specs. Now, this is a different reprint than you saw before. This is off of a listing from Amazon. And you go through here and you see you got all of this stuff happening, and then you see that the battery is 360 milliamp hours. Okay, that's on the LF16 360. And we're saying that on the 368, we have 400. Well, I guess we need to find out. So if the only difference that we could find potentially is the battery between the LF16 and the DM368, then it makes sense that we should dive in here and take a look at the battery, right? Well, don't do what I did, okay? I'm going to show you something. First of all, I'm going to show you the back of the LF16, and it's definitely not an easy thing to take off. When I first popped this off, I lifted the back, and lo and behold, this whole thing came out, the sensor for the heart rate. That stayed in. Well, that wasn't cool, so I had to disconnect this and push this thing back in place so it would stick. And now, in order to put it back in, I have to line everything up with the cover here, like that thing over that thing, and then from the back side, we got to push that down on there and lock it in, and then slide it down, and notice that there's a hole. There's a pin missing. Oh my goodness. This took over 2 hours to find, folks. You see it here? Yeah, that's the little pin that fell out of the back of the watch, in the case thing. So we're going to try and put this back in. Come back here. We're going to make sure we get it the right way. The flat surface, oh dear, the screws are magnetized. The flat surface needs to show on the outside. Which end's the flat? That looks flat there to me. Now, not saying that this would fall out of yours, and not saying that the other ones are going to fall out either. The magnet's right there, and it's holding on to my everything. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm going to do this off camera, but we got to get this back in place there. Then we got to line this thing up with this and push it all back in so that I can attach it with the screws. Don't take the back off of your LF16 and I presume your DM368 either, because you know what? You can't see the battery. It's buried somewhere below the motherboard here, and I'm not about to take off all the antennas and unscrew this just to see if there's any writing on the battery. We're going to have to rely on specs in the spec sheets for that. Alrighty. So I'll do a little test with these. I'm going to put it in something that's going to keep the screen on and use up some power, charge them both all the way up, and then drain them down and see if they die at the same time or whether the 400 milliamp hour one lasts longer than the 360 or whether those numbers are incorrect. It's hard to believe that such an identical watch in every respect would have a different size battery, but it's possible. And if so, we'll know, and you'll know which one lasts longer. But which one's faster? Well, we have that information too. If I go down here and show you in the list of apps, I've got the Antutu benchmark testing. Now, if you watch the video we just did on the DM368, you'll see that we have already showed you that this one runs. Now, it's already run, so it's not running it again. It's just pulling up the data from memory. It produces an Antutu score of 14,538. The higher the number, the faster the watch. This one, the LEM LF16, gives us 15,412. Now, that fibrillation you see on the screen is a timing thing related between the camera and the watch. And you can see, perhaps because we're getting this, that the screen is refreshing faster on this one than it is on that one. It doesn't look like that for real. They look identical. But you're seeing it here, and there is a difference in score. I reran this one a couple of times. I constantly get the same thing. This one actually has more apps and stuff installed, things that run in the background. You'd think it would be slower. So I don't know why, but the LF16 is producing a higher score. The higher score may mean it's clocked a little higher speed. A little higher speed may mean that it's going to be slower in terms of, quicker in terms of draining the battery. More power, faster speed, less battery life. Or it could be that it's got the smaller battery and that's got a big one. So if this one dies out before this one does, I'm not going to be able to tell you if it's because the battery's smaller or because it's clocked at a higher speed. Nor can I tell you that your results will be the same because they may be tuned differently. And you buy the same two watches and you run them and they come out looking like that, I don't know. I just don't know. I do know that they're really close in terms of the overall thousands. I mean, look at that. The percentages less than 10% difference, right? Usually they run somewhere around 10,000 in the Antutu score for the older versions of Android with lower memory. These guys are running like this, and the ones with the quad core and the full gigabyte of RAM and 8 gigabytes of ROM and whatever they call a memory these days, those are pumping up in the 20,000 to 22,000 range. Who knows? Anyway, I don't see any degradation in performance in these. They both look great. So we've got identical watches. We've got identical bands. The bands are the same, just a different color. I'm pretty sure these are available in these same colors from the different manufacturers. One says LEMFO, one doesn't. They have a different screen when they boot up. They have similar watch faces. I guess we can run through that real quick for you. Let's go back to the first one. And if you want to choose based on watch face, if the bands are the same, if the watch is the same, maybe the only thing you can choose on is watch face. I'm just going to go through them slowly like this without opening every one of them. You will see some of them are the same, but they're in different positions. Okay. Notice that naming nomenclature I was telling you about up at the top? A lot of them are the DMN watch faces, whoever DMN is. Some are preceded with a 0, some are not, and they're different watch faces by those names. So The one thing that the watch companies have control over, it looks like, is the watch faces. And as we've seen in some of the others, they also have control over the different bands, what kind of bands they can offer you. But in terms of the hardware, they may actually just buy these complete watches separately and then brand them themselves. Okay, that one's done. So I've been doing them incrementally. So we've got a couple of more watch faces over here. Now, these are the custom ones from here on. If you watch the review on this one, remember that you can install custom watch faces. So the last stock one was this one. And these are all the different custom watch faces you can put on here. Yes, of course, you can put them on here too. I just haven't taken the time to do it. This one's fully loaded up. I mean, lots of watch faces, lots of apps, the whole 9 yards. And by the way, I've put a list of recommended apps, like all the apps I put on any of the watches that are Android, whether they have cameras or not, all that stuff. I made a whole list of them with links to the Play Store. You'll find that in the show notes below as well. Click on that. You can download the whole list, and you can have at it at loading up apps as well. And of course, there's the information on how to put in the custom watch faces. Just look for the video related to the KW88, because it's the same scheme that's used for the KW88 that happens to work on both the DM368 and the LF16. Wow. Okay, so we looked at the watch faces, and they're different, right? But some of them are the same. The bodies, this is black. You can see the little writing underneath. This is kind of a gunmetal with the same white writing underneath with the markings on the outside. You could check. Maybe one company offers a case style or band combination that's different. But other than that, unless there's a real difference in the battery results, it's price, it's delivery time. You got pretty much the same watch here. So they're good. It's a good watch format. It really is attractive and it runs well. So I would recommend either one of them to you. However, let's take a look at those battery results. We are about 2 hours into this battery test. Let me tell you how I set it up. First of all, let's see where we're at. From 100% on both of them, the LEMFO LF16 is at 60% and the DOMINO DM368 is at 57%. So they're tracking really close with each other after the first 2 hours. Now, you say that's a lot of battery drain in 2 hours, and you're right. There's a couple of reasons for that. First of all, I set it for the screen to time out after 30 minutes, and I'm leaving the screen on. I have the setup for mid-brightness on both of them. I have Wi-Fi on, location services on, and that's an important part because the actual test that I'm doing is using the engineering mode MTK on both of them with the GPS turned on. Now, I want you to notice something. I didn't expect to see these results, but I am. On the DM368, you noticed when I first turned it on just now, went back into it, that it was already green. It still had GPS. Notice here, it's not coming through too good because of the brightness, but those are red. They just switched to green now on the LF16. The DM368, two things. First of all, it's getting a whole lot more satellite coverage and GPS reception all the time. Better than any watch I've seen. Take a look at these and go back and look at the videos I've done on that number 3 most asked question about GPS. Got a couple of them out there. You can compare it with all the other watches and you'll see indoors now. I'm sitting indoors, have not taken these out. They both were acquiring. This one's dropped out again, but this one's holding really good. So as a distinction between the two, actually a distinction between all the others, right now the DM368 is holding its own and then some on acquiring and holding GPS indoors, even when the power is off, okay? So that's the test, is to have it going, have the GPS monitor constantly running with the screen on a 30-minute timeout and letting it run. So I'll see you in a few seconds after a few more hours have elapsed, and we'll continue to monitor the battery drain. We are at the 3-hour mark, and what are we looking at? Still have GPS. And what have we got in terms of battery usage? 41%, 41%. So they're matched after 3 hours. Well, this is interesting. Here we are 4 hours into it. I'm at 19% on the DM368. The LF16 has hit a 15% threshold, and it's not letting me go any further. And I can't get out of just the basic time screen. So it's got an automatic going into battery saving mode that just shows you the time. It's flashing up in here. Can you read that? Yeah, it's really tiny. Request, receive for up section? Huh, I don't know. Anyway, in terms of our overall power draining test, which is what we're about, so far it looks like the one that's supposed to have the larger battery maybe does. The DM368 is still cruising after 4 hours at 19%, and I'm in power saving mode automatically with no recourse to get out of it, it appears, on the LF16. But we're going to let it keep going and see what happens when this one gets down to 15% or less. All right. Okay, final check-in. It took another 20 minutes, between 20 minutes and a half an hour before the DM368 actually went into its 15% backup mode. I've let them go a little while longer just to see how well they taper off, and now they have long life because it looks like they've shut everything down except for the time. So I would imagine they could last a few more hours actually in the final 15%. And as you can see, there's still a little bit more charge in the DM368 than the LF16. Well, if you're still not sure which one to buy, maybe you can base your decision on what does it sound like and look like when you turn them on and turn them off. LEMFO, Domino, Marvel. Ooh, I wonder if that's related to Marvel Comics. That was the first one to pop up with noise. This one I think has the... Oh, there it is. I was going to say I thought it had it turned off, but it doesn't. So they're each working through their boot up logo. Obviously, the LEMFO is much more colorful and vibrant. And the logo is happening at the same time as it's loading the operating system. And this one was the first one to come up with its watch face. The LEMFO's taking a little longer. Now again, remember I have this one fully loaded, so it could be the effect of having some extra apps in there. See the little dot that showed up, for example? And then there's the watch face. So a few seconds longer. Can't tell you for sure if it's related to the other apps. Remember the Antutu score was higher on this one. But anyway, there they are booted up. And when we turn them down, we press the button. And you see you have exactly the same screen here. You have that thing of making the third-party apps in a square inside the circle or full size. That's on both of them. We power off and we're out of here. Have a great day. We will see you again soon. Whichever one you buy, I'm sure you're going to enjoy it.